Hey, what's up, everybody? Ralph here. So I came across this article on Finance Yahoo titled "Most of your bosses are planning layoffs if a recession hits." Now, I'll be real with you. Like, I've never been, I've never been one. I've never been laid off. Um, even if I was to be laid off, or that I was in a situation where they were planning on laying me off, I've never been the type to be afraid of like losing my job or quitting my job. Like, I've quit more jobs than I can count. I just never had that mentality. Like, I've always been entrepreneurial. I always had that mindset that I wanted to be my own boss, always do my own thing. So when it came to jobs, I never took pleasure in getting comfortable in jobs. I've never had a job for more than 3 or 4 years. And for me, I never felt that anxiety when it comes to losing a job, being, potentially losing my job. But I can empathize with those that obviously like need the job, and they're working in a job in a career, and they have that fear that when the rest if they're going to be the person that gets called into the office and lose and say that we're going to have to let you go. I can understand that, because for a lot of people, obviously, you need that. Like, for me, it's a mentality thing. Like, I never wanted to get comfortable with working. I always, if I needed a job, I just got a job just to pay some bills while I was working on a business or doing something else. And for me, I've never had that anxiety. But like I said, I can understand those that do have that anxiety. So, like, going through this article, says recession storm clouds have been looming for quite some time. Turn left or right, and you'll find economists and executives predicting and preparing for the worst, citing the invasion of Ukraine, high inflation, and the current cost of living. Despite enjoying a tight labor market and subsequent great resignation, workers are currently squirming in their chairs. About 80% of U.S. employers express being scared regarding their job security in the case of a recession, according to Insight Global's survey of 1,000 U.S. workers this past June. And it's funny because obviously you had the great resignation where people were just quitting their job. And I don't doubt that. People were like, you know what, I'm going to look for a situation that makes sense for me, right? But when it gets to a point where, all right, you know what, you found something that you do like, or you're probably working remotely, or whatever situation that you found an employer that you feel comfortable and you actually like. But now it gets to a point where now there's a recession that's coming and people are being laid off. Now, instead of this whole great resignation, people are having this fear that, damn, I'm going to lose my job. And it's just crazy how quickly that can turn. And for a lot of people, obviously, if you're someone that just quits, like, if you're like me, then that it's not going to scare you. But for a lot of people that probably left their job to find a better situation, and now they're fearing that they might lose the job that they currently have, it makes sense that some people, a little afraid. So it says, and their fears are not totally unfounded. Considering 80% of managers in the same poll responded that if a recession hits, they'd likely need to lay off workers. I think we're in a recession right now, and as you can see, that there are companies that are laying off. Netflix, Tesla. There's plenty of companies that are now just laying people off. So it's already happening. So in early June, Coinbase made news of planning to reduce about 18% of its workforce after the crypto value plummeted in the winter, and Netflix continued to do rounds of layoffs in the light of subscriber losses. While more than 1,600 tech employees were let go in May, according to Layoffs, FYI, Corey Katanga, LinkedIn senior economist, countered that despite concerns about the sector, the job posting site saw no notable drop-off in our data just yet. Also, in the faded month of June, as Tesla CEO Elon Musk announced that he planned to let go of 10% of salary staff, Michael Burry, the hedge fund made famous by The Big Short, isn't making the future labor market sound any better for office workers. So I guess for a lot of people, they're talking about office workers. So you see these companies that are laying off people and they're laying off their staff. Instead of and who knows if this accounts for people that are working remotely. I would assume so. They talk about obviously office workers, but this is going to be for a lot of people that they feel are probably aren't bringing enough value to hold on to. So obviously, if you're someone that works in the office and you're someone that's working remotely, and your company prefers that you work in office, but obviously they understand the demand for working remotely, then they're probably going to select the person that's coming into the office as opposed to the person that wants to work remotely. So that's another thing that you might want to be cognizant of as well. Like, I know a lot of people feel like they have leverage. Like, if you don't give me a job where I can work remotely, then I'm just going to go somewhere else. But and during times of recessions where people are losing jobs, you might not have that leverage. So you want to make sure that if that is the case, then you want to make sure that you're secure in your position, because when the layoffs happen, they're going to go for the person that obviously is highly skilled, or the person that's coming into the office that's putting in the work, as opposed to the person that's like, I'm just going to work remotely. But each company is different. But yeah, but I could see how some people be afraid of that. So I see a bifurcated labor market developing, as unskilled and semi-skilled remain in short supply, but white-collar workers have proven their redundancy during COVID. We'll find gross excess in the labor market, pressuring wages at the end. Burry tweeted in a post that, like nearly everything he puts up online, he deleted quickly afterwards. In other words, Burry thinks white-collar workers are screwed. So yeah, he thinks the white-collar workers are screwed. That's interesting. All right, but despite all these fears from workers and managers alike, a job market is still going strong. The most recent U.S. jobs report, released July 8th, shows that 372 jobs were added in June. Despite slowing spending, there are still about 2 jobs posted for every unemployment individual. This survey, though, shows that layoff anxiety is just as strong for workers and managers alike. This story has originally featured in Fortune. So yeah, I mean, it's something that you want to keep in mind of. And if you're someone that's worried that your job is going to be, you think you're going to be let go at your job, then obviously it's important. You want to make sure you got your finances, ready. Like you want to make sure you got 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund put away, just in case you got to, it has to get you through those times of unemployment. I remember when I quit my job, I had a good amount of savings. Remember I quit in like May. I forgot what year it was, but it was in May, and I was able to find a job in December. And having that money saved up allowed me to get through that time where I wasn't making any money. So it's important to make sure you're obviously reducing your expenses. That's the first thing you should do during these recessionary times. You want to make sure you're reducing your expenses, right? Keeping your costs low. Make sure that you're, any excess, you want to get rid of that, and make sure you have a good amount of savings to put aside just in case it needs to get you through months of unemployment. All right. So obviously, people are worried about that. If you're someone that feels like they have a secured position, then obviously you don't have to worry too much, but you still should always have an emergency fund or some money set aside just in case. But if you're secure in your position, then obviously this doesn't apply to you, but there's a lot of people that aren't that secured in the position, and there's something that they need to worry about. Right? So let me know your thoughts. Make sure to leave a comment down below, hit the like button, share, and please do not forget to subscribe. All right, so you guys take care, have a good one. Later.